Alright, take the time to open your notebook to the next available page. Get it set up with your Cornell note paper. Again, you can hit the pause button at any point so that everyone can be ready to go with the notes. The essential question for today's notes on lesson 2.4 is, how do you solve equations with variables on both sides? So, you have looked at one-step equations, where you have solved equations in one step. Next, you looked at two-step equations, where you solved the equations in two steps. After that, we took a look at some multi-step equations, where there was more than two steps. And today we're going to look at some equations that have letters or variables on both sides of the equation. So here's the first example, problem 1a. There are just 3 problems, maybe 4, for you to do today. 3 problems. I'm going to go slow so you can see every step, but if you miss something, you can watch this video again here in class, or you can watch it from my website. And you may have learned a way to do this equation slightly different than the way I'm going to show you, and that's fine, but this is the easiest and quickest way for me to solve an equation that has variables on both sides. So here's the deal. What you want to do to solve an equation like this is you want to gather all the variables on one side of the equation and all the numbers or the constants on the other side of the equation first, so that you can solve the equation just like you've done with the one-step, two-step, and multi-step equations. So the way that I look at this problem is I first look at only the variables. In this problem we have a 5x on the left-hand side and a 2x on the right-hand side. At this point you want to choose one side to be the variable side and one side to be the number side, or the constant side. So the way I choose is I always find the biggest variable term by looking at the coefficient, 5 and 2. Which one's bigger, 5 or 2? Of course the answer is 5, so this is the side that I want to be my variable side. Pick the bigger variable to be the variable side, and then automatically the other side becomes the number side. And what this means is I want to get all the variables over on this side and all the numbers over on this side. So I'm going to do this in one step. On the variable side I only want variables, so I'm going to get rid of the number or constant. So to get rid of plus 2, I do the opposite and I subtract 2. And what I do on one side of the equation, I have to do on the other side. Now you don't just write minus 2 anywhere on the other side, you line it up with the other number. And then before I do any more calculating, I'm going to go over to the other side, the number side. On the number side I only want numbers, like these numbers. So I'm going to get rid of the variables, like this variable. And to get rid of a plus 2x, I subtract 2x. And what I do on one side, I have to do on the other side. And again, I don't just put it anywhere, I line it up with the other variable term. So at this point it looks kind of complicated, but I'm going to get everything set up in one easy step. Here's what should happen. If I've done it correctly, I should end up with only variables on the variable side, only numbers on the number side. And the way that happens is the numbers on the variable side, the plus 2 and the minus 2, cancel. The variables on the number side, the 2x and the minus 2x, cancel. So I'm just left with variables. 5x minus 2x is 3x. On the number side, I'm only left with numbers. 14 minus 2 is 12. And now I've taken this complex variables on both sides equation and narrowed it down to just a simple one-step equation, 3x equals 12. 3x means 3 times x, so to undo 3 times, I divide by 3, and what I do to one side, I do to the other side. 3 and the 3 cancel, left with x. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And the answer to this equation is x equals 4. So let's do another one. Write this down in your notes. And I'm going to stall a little bit, but if I start to go before you're ready, someone can come up and hit the pause button. Okay, this equation also has variables on both sides. I have a negative 3n and a negative 5n. So my first step is look at the variable terms, figure out which one's bigger, and make that the variable side. Now this is tricky because a negative 3n and a negative 5n, when I compare them, which one's bigger, negative 3 or negative 5? Well, it turns out that negative 3 is the bigger, because remember that the bigger negative will be closer to 0 on the number line. Either way, the variable side is going to be the left-hand side, the number side is the other side. So here I go with one step to simplify this equation into a one-step equation. On the variable side, I only want the variables, so I get rid of the number part. Now remember, this is 7 minus 3n, not negative 7, so to get rid of 7, I subtract 7. What you do on one side, you do on the other side, and you line it up with the other number. Then you go to the number side, and you only want numbers, so you get rid of the variable, which is negative 5n. You do that by adding 5n to both sides. And in one step, you've changed this equation that has variables on both sides into a simple one-step equation. On the left-hand side, 7 minus 7 cancels. Negative 3n plus 5n is 2n. On the right-hand side, the variables cancel. 15 minus 7 is 8. And now you just have one step left. 2n means 2 times n. To get rid of 2 times, you divide by 2, and what you do on one side, you do on the other side. So n equals 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, the last problem for today, for lesson 2.4, part 1, looks like this. 6p minus 21 equals negative 9p plus 39. So take the time right now to try this equation all by yourself. Somebody can come up and hit the pause button. And when you've finished, as a class, resume the video and check your solution with mine. Okay, the first step in solving this equation is to figure out which side is going to be the variable side and which side is going to be the number side. Compare the variable terms, 6p and negative 9p. In this case, 6p is larger than negative 9, so the left is going to be the variable. The right side is going to be the number side. On the variable side, I only want variables, so I'm going to get rid of the minus 21 by adding 21. And what I do to one side, I do to the other side. On the number side, I only want numbers, so I get rid of the variable term by adding 9p. What I do to one side, I do to the other side. And in one step, I take this complicated equation and make it much simpler. Negative 21 and positive 21, or minus 21 and plus 21 cancel. 6p plus 9p is 15p. On the right-hand side, the number side, the negative 9p and the positive 9p cancel. 39 plus 21 is 60. And now I'm left with 15 times p equals 60. To get rid of 15 times, I divide by 15. on both sides. So P equals 4. Hopefully that looks just like what your paper looks like. The assignment for today is lesson 2.4 part 1. You're going to do numbers 10 through 18 out of your book. And then number 1 through 9 on the worksheet that you grabbed on the way in. Make sure that the worksheet that you grab says 2.4 at the top. This is worksheet 2.4. Don't get it confused with the other class that's working on a different lesson. So, not a whole lot of problems for you to do. What I'd like you to do is set your paper up the way you've been setting it up with 3 columns. Complete each problem neatly and accurately, writing on the lines, getting all of the steps shown to get your answer, and then take the time to draw in those lines and make those boxes, skipping lines between. You should have plenty of room on one piece of paper to complete all of these problems. This is 9 problems for this section, and this is 9.